Well, joining me in studio to discuss this is Progressive Professionals Forum President Mzmane Manyi. Well, a very good afternoon to you, sir. Let me start by asking you, it's just been another weekend and another report by the Sunday Times without any names. It's been faceless accusations. What do you make of this report and also them dragging the Decolonization Foundation into the fray?
Yeah, before we do that, I think let's start using this opportunity to pass our condolences to the family and all the bereaved members of the Johann Rupert. Johann Rupert was a great artist in this country. It's a really sad day that he has passed on. Now to get back to this nonsensical issue about Sunday Times. Indeed, Sunday Times has proved once again that it is a lying newspaper. We must remember this is the same newspaper that had told the country, broke the news about the rogue unit at SARS. I don't know what happened. Then they made a U-turn, and all of a sudden they were the first to say, actually, no, there are no rogue news, there are no rogue units at SARS. So Sunday Times is not a publication that must be trusted, just cannot be trusted. It's not a credible paper. They go around, they say, they asked me questions, and I responded to the questions, and they don't go and reflect my answers. They make up their own spin. They now say that the foundation, the Decolonization Foundation, which I'm a founder of, that it is now either been set up or is being funded by this PR firm from London. Something that is actually a lot of rubbish, as it were. But what I will be doing now, which I'm busy with now, I've already briefed my lawyers. Tomorrow they will get their letter from my lawyers to deal with this matter because I actually want to sue them. I think the time has come that when newspapers talk a lot of nonsense, they must not even be reported to the ombudsman, and then they come with a correction on page 20 on a size 8 font. You can't even see the correction. I want to set a standard for all South Africans that when newspapers, when media steps off the line, there must be zero tolerance for that. Everybody with the means must make sure that you take them to the cleaners. So this is what I'm going to do. So Sunday Times is definitely going to hear from me, and I'm waiting for them to respond to that, but my lawyers will be dealing with that.
And then a few weeks ago, media accused the Decolonization Foundation of benefiting from Eskom sponsorships. And how do you view these continued attacks on the foundation?
Yeah, look, I think let's talk about that. I think it's important for people to understand the issue of sponsorships. I think it's only retarded people that do not understand the corporate value for sponsoring an organization, a professional organization like a Progressive Professionals Forum. The fact that even today we're talking about Eskom, it just shows how much further the mileage Eskom gets. Usually when organizations sponsor an organization like a Progressive Professionals Forum, they get their return for their investment, and as part of that, their brand equity goes up. In fact, the value that they derive out of that sponsorship is actually 3 times. It so happens, by the way, that in that same sponsorship that Eskom had sponsored Progressive Professionals Forum, that in fact CEO of Eskom was there to talk, gave him an hour or so of engaging, explaining Eskom things to communities in Soweto, which on itself was another part of a strategy to rejuvenate the economy of Soweto. So there have been multiple benefits out of that situation. And by the way, all of that was not secret. It was a once-off event, and I think it is incorrect to say funding. It was an event that was sponsored. There was a value proposition put on the table. Eskom bought into it, and this thing was priced. Everybody paid, and that's it. It was a once-off. It's not like Progressive Professionals Forum is getting a monthly retainer or stipend, whatever, from Eskom. There was a value proposition put, and they paid. In fact, we have asked the minister to actually ask all his state-owned enterprises to list people that they've benefited, that they have sponsored, so that we can see whether who else is in the list of the same as Progressive Professionals Forum, where monies have been paid for whatever value that is there, so that we can have a proper discussion as to who is actually funded or who is sponsored by these state-owned enterprises and for what purpose. So we look forward to a report back from Minister Brown when all the SOEs or state-owned companies respond to her question about who else has been funded. But we know that there's nothing irregular about that, but we just want the record to be set straight that there was no special favor done for the Progressive Professionals Forum. We put a value proposition on the table. ESCOM bought into it like they have bought into other value propositions of others. So this whole thing, by the way, it's actually a strategy to silence all the critics, all the people that criticize white monopoly capital. South Africa must know that the issue of white monopoly capital is a reality in South Africa. White monopoly capital continues to strangle the economy of the country, continues to benefit only a few, continues to malalign black business, continues to malalign all the entrepreneurs that are coming up. They create all kinds of oligopolies and they do all kinds of the transgressions of the competition laws to ensure that competitors don't come in. They own the whole market. There's oligopolies in every sector. Sasol owns about 95% of the fuels industry. These two companies, Sapi and Mondi, they own something like 91% of the wood and paper industry. The list goes on. Banking is only by the big five. Construction company is owned largely by the big four. The whole market is sewn up by this white monopoly capital. And when we talk about it, people say it's wrong and all of this. So we, as Progressive Professionals Forum, we will continue unashamedly. We will continue undeterred. We are resolute that the issue of white monopoly capital must be addressed. In fact, our advice to the African National Congress is that they must not dilute the discussion of white monopoly capital and just say monopoly capital. No, it's not just monopoly, it's white, it's got a color. If you look at the JSE, black people own only 3% of the JSE. The rest is white monopoly capital, both local and international. So the issue of running away from naming it for what it is, white monopoly capital, if you don't say this that way, we are actually fudging the issue. And for us as Progressive Professionals Forum, we are saying that there must be a very honest discussion in this country. Land in South Africa is still owned largely by white monopoly capital. Productive assets of the economy are still owned by white monopoly capital. So what is wrong with calling it what it is? In fact, not calling it what it is has now cost us in this country. We have now, because of its merging the debate, ESCOM has now become a casualty of being deconcentrated. We are now talking about independent power producers, yet ESCOM has got capacity, ESCOM has got coal that it can still use to generate electricity. Now, because of this monopoly discussion, ESCOM is being deconcentrated, and as a result, people are beginning to lose jobs and all that. So indeed, we're saying we have to face the enemy of transformation. We have to face the enemy that is causing strife to our people, and that enemy is white monopoly capital.
Well, let's take a look at the whole story about how President Zuma and the Gupta family allegedly used Bob Pottinger to manufacture a narrative around white monopoly capital. Well, it's relying again on nameless and faceless accusations that Sunday Times are making. Do you think that there is, in fact, any credibility to this article that the Sunday Times?
No, there's zero credibility. This is why we're taking it. This is why we're taking them through the court processes, because that's how confident we are as the Decolonization Foundation that there is no substance to this. They are busy with a fishing expedition. They are busy with a rumor mongering. They have no evidence whatsoever to back up anything. So I would like them to put evidence on the table to say, how did this company fund the Decolonization Foundation? How did this company set up the foundation? I know that I've set this thing up myself and with my own resources. Now, if they say other people came in, they must put the evidence on the table. And if they don't, I'm actually suing them because this is a defamation of character, and I think Sunday Times must pay for this.
Well, they also say that the report also claims that there's an unnamed document floating around in government that claims that Bob Pottinger is getting used to defame white monopoly capital. Well, it's not possible that it's nameless, faceless document itself. It may be just a piece of propaganda that is being introduced.
Well, clearly, I think one of the things that needs to change in South Africa is the privilege that media people have to manufacture whatever they like, and then they say they can't disclose their sources. It may very well be that this is just self-created so-called floating documents, because they can hide behind the clause where they can not disclose their sources. Somehow we need to find a way to break into that. It cannot be that South Africa can be lied to simply because people cannot disclose their sources. If they cannot disclose it to me and you, there must be some kind of institution where they are probed, where the truth can come out. We can't have Sunday Times lying with some source document and nothing, without any verifiable sources, nothing, nobody is quoted. It's just some cooked up gobbledygook that they put there, and everybody must respond to it. I think the time has come that we must draw a line and put a stop to this. And Monday morning, they are actually going to get a letter from my lawyers to start to deal with them on this matter.
Well, just my last question to you before we leave the discussion. Do you think that Johann Rupert, because we do know he had an account with Bell Pottinger, do you think that this is any sign that he may be upset of him losing his account with Bell Pottinger?
Yeah, look, I don't want to do what Sunday Times do to speculate about people and their agendas and their intentions. I have no idea what people are doing. I deal with facts. I don't deal with all kinds of speculations. And the fact now is that Sunday Times has lied, and I don't want to be distracted from that and start talking about Rupert. I don't know Rupert's agenda. But bottom line is that Sunday Times has lied, and Sunday Times must pay for lying. That's my line.
Thank you so much for joining me in studio and discussing this article that the Sunday Times